Welcome to the Logan Hillyard podcast, where real stories meet real healing. I'm your host, Logan Hillyard, and this space is for anyone who's walked through darkness and dared to keep going. Each week, we dive into raw conversations about trauma, faith, growth, and most importantly, purpose. Because the hardest parts of life often lead to the most beautiful parts of us. Thank you for being here, and let's get into it. Angie Simmons. It's been a long time.
Freaking Simmons.
It's been so long.
I know.
And I've seen that you've been going through some stuff, and the stuff that I've seen you post is enlightening, inspiring, and even though you're going through a super tough time, like always, positive. And I'm sure there's some things before that in life, and we kind of briefly talked about it before, that put you into the position where you are today, and now you've kind of reset again and continually figuring out and continually growing. So to get started, just tell us a little bit about yourself and where you are today and what you're doing.
Sure.
And then you can talk about your family, and then we're gonna back it up.
We're gonna back it up.
Mm-hmm. We're gonna back it up, and we can go as far back as you feel, as Angie's been shaped and molded through your life. Okay. And I'm sure you've reflected a lot on life.
Yeah.
So, yeah, where are you today? What's going on?
Well, Angie Simmons, first, thank you for having me.
You're very welcome.
Podcast.
I'm glad you made it up here.
I love what you're doing because I think that tragedy and people that go through things, that's where the connections are built because we all can relate to each other in some way, shape, or form. So what you're doing, I think is beautiful. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate that.
For doing the things and for thinking about me. I feel honored.
Well, I think we don't talk about the traumatic events enough, and or more importantly, we don't talk about the feelings deeper than that. Yeah. So, like on social media, we see, I've gone through something base level, and here's where I am. I'm really positive. I've beat this. I'm awesome. But what were those nights like? That's where I want to get, and so you can relate to somebody that's going through the night where you're like, I feel hopeless.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate you coming on here and being vulnerable, because I told you that's what we were going to talk about.
Oh my gosh. Here we go. All right. So, Angie Simmons, I am a mama first and foremost, entrepreneur, business owner, a leader. I love community. That is what I do. I feel like who I am is a little bit different. Talking about my soul, like I'm just genuine, kind. I'm a woman of faith. I believe in connecting with people on different levels. I think that that's super powerful. It's a gift that I have. But I also think that that comes from a lot of trauma, that we'll kind of dig into. So I think that's who I am, and that's what I do. And my life has drastically shifted since September, I would say. Getting diagnosed with cancer, it was like, wait, what? Like, what? Like, this happened to me? Like, you just don't think that anything could actually happen to you. You're like, there's no way that could happen to me. But this sounds really corny and cheesy too, but I think it was like, it happened for me. Like, it was meant to freaking happen because I needed a different shift in my life. And when I was talking to you just briefly about like getting to your breaking point, that was my breaking point. Because I had something inside my body that was literally trying to kill me. And it was like, what else matters in the world? And what I'm doing, like, that's exhausting. Like, I don't have any time for that. Because you think about in your mind when you're diagnosed with cancer, how much longer I'm going to do this thing and waste all my time and energy on things that aren't even important.
Right.
And it's really shifted my mind. It's brought in a lot of reflection, a lot of clarity into my sadness and everything. And I feel like I decided to post on it, social media, because I have a tendency to just remain strong. Angie always has to be strong for everybody else. Nobody can really see her weakness. This is what I've been thinking my whole life. I have to remain this strong person and just like have this image, right? Obviously, I believe that I'm strong, but nobody really sees like the parts where I just break. And I think that it's super important that you give yourself space to grieve and do all that stuff so you can understand where that's coming from and accept it. And then we got to move on. You can't sit in the grief for so long. But funny enough is that I was at the doctor's and I figure out the thing, and it wasn't actually, I don't think, the final decision that I had the cancer. It was just doctors being like, all right, sis, this doesn't look good. You should probably prepare yourself, And after that scan, I text my sister and I'm like, this is kind of what's going on. And she was reading it and she was at a work event and somebody had seen the text message and it was a friend of mine. And she knew about it. And I'm like, here we go. Everybody's going to know about it. And I just thought to myself, maybe for once in my life, maybe I just need to surrender this. Because I think this is probably the only way that I'm going to get through it. So I decided to post it on social media. And there was no pity. I didn't want the pity. It was so nice to have the love and appreciation. But what was even more powerful was that the women that had gone through the thing could reach out to me and was like, okay, this is what I did for this. You shouldn't do this, or da-da-da-da-da. It was, my brain was getting full of all of this knowledge so I can prepare for the fight. And if I didn't have that and fighting this alone, it would have been so much harder. So that's what I did. I decided to post it on social media and spent the next several months just totally focused and determined to fight this damn thing.
Yeah, what I loved about that is that you allowed yourself this to help you instead of defeat you. And no one gets out of life without some sort of darkness or traumatic event, but it's what the decision we decide to make during that, whether it's going to build us or break us, is a pivotal point. And I believe that a lot of the stuff that we see in today's society is that we let even the little things, mostly because of lack of knowledge of like how our childhood and how these things really shaped us, and the lack of truly support. How I've made it through a lot of my stuff is who shows up for you. There was one part that you said that you've had to be strong your whole life. And going back into your life, at what point do you think that was ingrained into you? It had to be somewhere in childhood, I would imagine, where you had to always probably be emotionally there for yourself and take care of your own emotions, and emotions were considered a weakness.
Dang, we're going to go deep.
It's the idea.
We're going deep. Okay. I grew up in Vegas. That's where I was born.
Problem number one.
I was raised as a stripper. Like, no, just kidding. That's not a thing.
I'm going to clip that out of context.
Like, clip that out. Gosh, I grew up in poverty. My father was an alcoholic and a drug addict pretty much for my whole life, or as I could remember. I remember walking into like the bathroom and there was a line of Coke, some powdery white stuff. And as like a 6-year-old, you're like, is that candy? I don't know what that is, but maybe I shouldn't touch it. Just seeing my dad kind of just falling in this like rabbit hole of drug abuse and alcohol abuse. My father was very abusive, physically, more mentally. I struggled more mentally on the physical aspect. Obviously, that's hard, but the mental part was what really kind of screwed me up a little bit. Unfortunately, my dad never healed from that addiction. He ended up dying, actually, in November from his addiction. But I spent a lot of my childhood trying to prove myself to him, because as a little girl, you don't understand addiction. You don't understand the mind. But I thought that, if I could just do these things and serve my dad in a way, maybe he would love me. Maybe he would give me the attention that I needed, and the good kind. Maybe he wouldn't hit me anymore. Maybe he wouldn't tell me what a piece of shit I am every day. Or, it's those things as a little girl. It's like, I internalized it. I made it be like, oh, it's my fault here. And what can I do to make him not do the things?
What are some core memories of like, of either, can you remember like laying in bed, having these thoughts or
I
a
would
certain
say-
event happening and remembering like, I want to run away? Or did you always just try to push towards that relationship out of just the need for love?
Both. Both. I remember that when my parents sat us together in a room and they said, hey, girls, because I'm the youngest of three and my mom's favorite child, even though she wouldn't ever really admit it. But super close to my mom. But they sat us together in a room and they said, hey, we're going to get a divorce. And I remember literally like it was yesterday saying, I pretended that I was sad because I didn't want anybody to see me sad. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I cry, but it was tears of joy. And I ran out of the house and I ran and like screamed in the streets of such relief. Like I just felt like chains were ripped off of me. I wasn't going to have to deal with my dad anymore. Like all of these things were running in my head. And I ran to my friend's house and said, Mom and Dad are getting a divorce. And this is like the happiest day of my life.
How did you view your mom handling all these situations of, I mean, there's a part where I think that a lot of women try to almost justify what they're doing to protect, in a survival mode, to protect themselves and protect you girls, until obviously a breaking point where she was able to get out. But
yeah, I mean, I looked at her with just strength because she too was getting abused and I would witness it. And I knew that it was freedom for her too. So I knew that it was a huge relief. Like she was trying so hard to keep the family together, get my dad help, get herself help, whatever that she had to do to keep the family together. But that was years of repetitive trying with nothing in return. And again, you get to that breaking point that we're talking about, and she had hers. And so I just looked at her of like pure strength. Yeah.
Is that do you think that's where you get a lot of your strength from? Is
100%.
Emotions are dangerous is what you've learned as a little girl. And then you saw how strong your mom could be. And that created, I can be strong.
Yep.
And your first experience of a breaking point was watching your mom go through a breaking point. And really on the other side of a dark moment is a better life and more happiness. And that's right. That's the point of this is to show people we get to a point, and even though that decision's hard, that's where we start rebuilding ourselves and finding our authentic self. And like you said before, you're 25 now, and it's taking you this.
Thank you.
It's taking you all these years to learn and grow and find your authentic self, and that's what I think this life is really about. So,
growing up in that time was difficult, but I had a lot of community behind us. So we were involved in a church and just, they were family. I remember, my mom's now a single mom. Dad's not contributing financially, really even physically there because he's just dealing with all of his stuff. And my mom working so hard for us three girls to try to provide. And she did okay in Vegas for a little bit. Where I get a lot of my community and giving back and why I'm so passionate about serving is that even though my mom couldn't provide, and there's many nights where like, where's food coming from? We never went without because the community that we had always made sure that we were okay. Like we would wake up Thanksgiving morning and there would be like boxes of like turkey dinner, right? And just all for her and us. And I looked at these people and I'm like, holy cow, amazing people actually exist in the world and they're trying to help us out. Like, how rad is that? And that was like my inspiration to serve people at a different level because I knew how much it affected me and how much all those core memories are engraved in me. And I'm like, I kind of want to do that. I want to make people feel the way that I just felt like they did, right? So ever since I was a little girl, that really engraved in me, and that's where my passion for service comes from, I think, is being so down in the dumps and somebody being there just willing to pick up the pieces and make sure that you're okay. It's pretty powerful.
Did you stay in Vegas for a while after that?
Didn't. No, mom had a little bit of a hard time with that, but she also wanted to become something better and bigger and set the example for her children. And she knew that Vegas wasn't a place for her. So we moved back up to Utah. And when I say back, I mean, they lived in Utah pretty much their whole life. I was born in Vegas, but family was up in Utah. And we relied on my grandparents to kind of take us in for a little bit to get back on our feet. And my mom decided to go to school full time. So she had a full-time job, going to school full time to make something of herself. I mean, she jokingly says, "I don't even know who raised you girls," because I was like never around, right? That's a lot where my independence comes from. I obviously had a lot of support from my older sisters, but I kind of just learned the ropes. Like, I know what I need to do. I got to cook myself dinner. I got to clean. I got to do this.
So was this like during middle school time, or
This
was this
was
like going into high
elementary.
school?
Elementary.
And what's the age gaps between your sisters?
Let's see. Kristen and I, the middle, were 2.5, and then 4.5 years
Okay.
between my siblings.
And so elementary school, you're moving back to Utah.
Yeah, moved back to Utah. My dad ended up following as well, I think a year later. And his parents are also up here. So that was convenient, and he ended up living with them. We ended up getting like a little apartment, my mom and sisters, and lived there for a little bit, and then moved way up here to Salt Lake. That was in American Fork, and then moved up here to Salt Lake. My mom continued to go to school and work full time, and that was just life. You know, dad was in our lives when he wanted to be. It was more of when it was convenient for him. Drugs and alcohol and women were more important. He never really came to any of my school things that I had. I was on the dance team, and he never showed up. It was a special occasion if he actually showed up, right?
Did you feel like even after all this and years later, you still were trying to seek love, even subconsciously?
All the way until I was in my 20s with my dad. Always wanting acceptance. The physical abuse stopped when I could probably kick his ass. I don't know. You get older, they're like, okay, I can't do that anymore. But emotionally, you can't do this. You're a piece of shit. I mean, just really, I mean, that's very like, he said some really terrible, terrible things. I'm just kind of keeping it G-rated here, but
You don't have to.
it emotionally destroying me like every day. It's almost like he didn't want me to succeed in life. It's almost like he wanted me to be like him, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know. He just tore me down all the time. And he didn't do it just to me. He did it to most people, everybody.
Well, I think that's how, I mean, a bully in general is something
Yeah.
that's internally wrong with them being
Totally.
put on somebody else.
Totally. And you know, that's what alcohol and drugs do, right? I didn't realize later until life that really wasn't my dad. It was masked with the drugs and the alcohol. But he was so involved in it that it made it look to be him, if that makes sense.
Right, yeah.
And I didn't really figure out that really wasn't him until I could go and get help myself. Like going to therapy and trying to understand the addict mind, understand how it works, whether it was I wanted to understand it for my aspects for me to feel better, whether it was for how I can show up for him to help him on that journey. I did it, but it helped me understand like how the addict mind works. And I got to the point where I got so much education where I was like, okay, this is just who he chooses to be right now. I have no control over that. So what can I do to not get sucked into the bullcrap, you know?
Right.
And it was setting boundaries with my dad. There was a conversation. I can't really remember what we were arguing about, but I said, and this was probably in my early 30s. I said, okay, Dad, like, and he's just calling me a bitch, a cunt, like you name it. I'm an asshole because I didn't agree with him on something. And I said, okay, Dad, I love you, but we're just going to have to agree to disagree. I have a family of my own. This is when I had 2 kids of my own right now, and I'm raising kids, and I'm choosing to set the example for them. And you can't be around my kids. You can't be a part of my life and bring this negativity. I'm not having it anymore. And it changes because it's not even about me. It's about my children, right? So I thank my dad for, I think in tragedy, I always think of the good out of that. And he taught me what not to be, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I never got involved in alcohol or drugs. I don't drink. I never done drugs. It's not a thing. But I think that I'm like that because I knew how it destroyed my life, and I didn't want that for my children, right? So I made that decision, and I didn't want my kids to see that either. So I set the boundary, and I'm like, Dad, I love you, but I'm going to have to love you from afar. Like if there's things that you need, however I can help you, I'm there, but your lifestyle isn't something that I approve of and that I can't have in my life right now, right? Oh, you're such a bitch, you know, just the whole everything.
No surprise.
No surprise, right? And, you know, a couple years pass and he would reach out when he needed something or when, you know, he was dying. My dad literally has 7 lives. He did. He's had strokes and heart attacks and all of the things, but he also cried wolf so many times where you're like, I don't even know if I believe you anymore because he needed that like attention because he wasn't getting it from anybody anymore, right? And then there was one morning, I remember I was getting in the shower, getting ready for work, and my uncle calls, which is his brother. This is like 5:30 in the morning, and Neil never calls me at 5:30 in the morning, right? I'm like, what is going on? So I answer it. I'm in the shower and I'm like, are you okay? He's like, no, you need to sit down for a second, right? So I get out of the shower, I'm wrapping myself up in a towel and I sit down. I'm like, hey, what's going on? He's like, your dad's been in a serious car accident. And in my mind, I'm like, oh gosh, here we go. You know, crying wolf, like he just needs attention, blah, 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 blah. So in that moment, I'm like, okay, well, what's the details? What's going on? And he says, you just need to get to the hospital. We don't know if he's going to make it. I'm like, okay. Still with no like, this is fine, right?
There's been so many lies that you don't know what until you know.
Yeah.
You don't know.
You don't know. And so obviously I get down there, he's in the IC, and it was a visual that I had never expected to see. And he was in a motorcycle accident, self-inflicted. He was driving drunk on a motorcycle accident, hit some gravel, and had a really bad head injury. So long story short, they ended up removing part of his brain. Because of all the blood trauma and things like that. They didn't know if he was going to make it. He was in a coma for, I think, 6 weeks. He wasn't waking up. But for some reason, I just felt like everything that he had done, I mean, obviously that mattered and hurt, but what he needed most was me in that moment. So I took off several weeks of work. I drove down there every single morning, stayed all day, all night until I had to go home and actually sleep. And then it was repetitive for several weeks just to hope that he would wake up. He ended up having surgery. He woke up and then the doctor then preps me and says, he's not going to know who you are. There's going to be, this is going to be a long road for recovery, if you will. And so it was several years of trying to rehabilitate him and his brain. And
so when he woke up, he didn't know who you were.
He didn't know me. No, you know, I was Frank. My name was Frank. Steve, Bob. I was everything but a woman. You know, he couldn't correlate me with anything. He would tell me stories that like his ex-wife would bring him his vodka and cranberry juice in his bath. And so he would say, hey, can you go get me that cranberry juice drink? You know, and he was talking to me like I knew what he was talking about. Later I found out, right? So he couldn't connect the dots.
He doesn't remember you, but he does remember a drink.
It's
Good.
Right?
Says a lot.
I know. It's true. And now he was so consumed about alcohol and alcohol. He would talk about alcohol a lot, that he needed it, right?
Well, I'm sure his body was needing it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Detoxing was, 30 plus years of all of that. But, so anywho, fast forward several years, he had to be in facilities, like lockdown facilities, because the part of his brain that was screwed up is that he didn't, like, you and I know not to walk in front of cars because we'd get hit. And that didn't register to him. I remember putting him in a facility for rehabilitation right when he got out of the hospital, and he ended up escaping the facility. He did a lockdown facility. He crawled through the window. This was like 2:00 in the morning. We get a call. Hi, Miss Simmons. We can't find your dad. And I'm like, what? And this was in Nephi. And he escaped. And he was going home. That's what he told the cops. I'm just going home, right? So he just screwed up in the brain big time. So that was several years of that. But I often ask, or I don't ask, like, why? Because I know that there's lessons in all of this. But
there's two things that we have similarities on, is that every time something happens in my life, even like minor, like what we were talking about before, just like maybe a relationship, what's going on. I did something and there's a lesson to be learned from it.
Yeah.
And so every time something negative happens, there's a lesson. And then also having a positive outlook on all of it. Like there's going to be something good that comes from it. Oh, and then the other one was actually once you know the source of the problem, you talked about like understanding the addict brain. That's where I like, oh, now I know the problem. So in my mind, I think now that I know the problem, there's a solution.
Yeah.
And even in your case, like there really isn't. I mean, the solution was to create boundaries. But so I think that's really important, that when we go through something, there's two things to look at. What is life trying to teach me? And how can I understand this better? And once we understand that better, especially how our minds work, we get to be introduced to ourselves. Totally. And that's when you start to really know who we are. Because really, we just grow up with agreements of what people told us we were, what our names were,
right?
What what religion you were, everything. And so you kind of get stuck on autopilot for a majority of our life. And it's when traumatic things happen, some more than others, that's when we start to develop and understand who we really want to become. And as you're telling your story, like knowing who you are and then seeing these parts of it really is explaining like how you're shaped into who you are. So as you're going through all this with your dad, you also have a whole other life that you've been living. Totally. I mean, you've had kids, you were married.
Yep. So
let's kind of, I guess, go back. We told your dad's story.
Yeah.
What else was going on in your life? This was just one of your major stressors, I'm sure. And so, what
oh gosh,
what did that look like?
Real quick on my dad. I wondered why he would always like come back to life. Because he literally, when I say he has 7 lives, he literally did. And I thought, he's not the same person after his brain injury. And this was the one chance that I got to not rebuild, because we didn't really have a relationship, but to actually have a relationship with my dad the first time in like 40 years. I got to see him on like a different level, because he was no longer drinking and he was sober for the first time in 40 years. So I got to build something with my dad. It wasn't, it was hard, right? Because he had that brain injury. But it was a lot better than it whatever was. And so I believe that happened for reasons. It's almost like God didn't want him to die. until he knew that I was okay. So it ended up being a really beautiful thing. And I think that forgiveness is so powerful, and why I'm such a true believer in that. Because I could have every excuse to hate my dad, but I didn't. I forgave him. And that gave me the opportunity to build something great with him while I could.
Yeah, I was gonna say that same thing. Like, I think that nobody, if you would have just hated them and never took care of them or done anything, no one would have blamed you. But to have the capacity in your own emotional capacity to take as an opportunity, and that just shows, you want people to feel loved, and even the people that have done you wrong. And
Yeah,
it's a beautiful opportunity, and to now that he's passed, to look back at your life and have a feeling of love and not hate.
totally.
And you did yourself such a service. And
Totally.
that's a beautiful thing.
Thank you. He ended up picking up the bottle again within like the last 6 months, and I knew it. So then again, I had to set the boundary. In between then and from the time that he passed, I only saw him about one time, because I knew that I had to set the boundary again. I knew that I shouldn't go down that again. But he died about 2 weeks after my diagnosis, which is crazy.
It comes in waves usually.
It just is like, it's all just hit just like it was, But when he passed, I felt at peace, knowing that I did everything in my power to build that relationship with my dad and forgive him. And I don't have any anger in my heart. I don't feel like I could have done anything better, and that just gives me so much peace. I can just move on now with my life and know that he's in a better place too. He's not suffering.
Right.
So all of that ended up, it's a crazy story. There's so much to that, but it ended up being pretty beautiful. So they say that you marry your dad or somebody that has the same
tendencies.
yes, qualities and things like that. And I did. I married somebody who was an addict, and an amazing human, great guy, great father. The difference between him as an addict versus my dad is that my dad was in denial, where my ex wasn't. He knew. So again, I was the sole provider a lot of the times, and taking care of 2 kids pretty much by myself, because when you have somebody that has taken pills, they're not functioning. So the lot of pressure that I had to keep the family together and work hard was a thing. And I did that for many, 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 many years, 15 plus years.
And did you see yourself in the same position that your mom was those years ago? Or
No.
I mean, I know it was different because sounds like there was a lot less abuse going on.
A lot less abuse, but feeling the need, I guess, to keep the family together and to make him better. Like I said, he was a different kind of addict. He knew that he had a problem. He just couldn't kick it. He wasn't abusive, anything like that. So a little bit different, but still the need to be strong, right? Mm-hmm. And I had to be strong because he couldn't be. He was sick, right?
And that also part of you that wants to keep showing up for people.
Yeah. That and just working my ass off, Mm-hmm. I had if I wanted anything in life, and even this was in my childhood when I grew up like in poverty and things like that, if I wanted anything, I had to work super hard for it. And that came to the point where I was like draining myself emotionally and physically just to provide for the kids and give them a life that they like deserve. But then it turned into this need of like, I want people to know that I'm strong, and I'm chasing now. I'm chasing money. I'm chasing a bigger version of myself. I challenged myself a lot of the times because I just wanted to be better and better and better. And then it got to be this addiction where I would hit like a milestone and it wasn't good enough. And then I had to push myself to get here, and then it still wasn't good enough. And I think that there's a lot of quality in that, to have that ambition. But what comes with that is you're forgetting all these other things that actually matter. But you could just get so wrapped up in the success, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a lot of different distract and avoid things that we all do, and the obvious ones are alcohol, drugs, and things like that.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, especially with the childhood that you had,
Yeah.
seek almost a perfection of and success, and just like any other addiction, you just can't ever get enough of it.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting.
Just masking, masking the crap. I got to keep busy, right? So
And that helped you from going crazy.
No, it actually made me more crazy. But then again, I was like in denial about it. It was like, oh, I still gotta go. So I missed out a lot of opportunities, I think, like with my kids and building memories, and doing things that I actually enjoy, because my sole focus was to be the provider and work hard to provide for them. And just the satisfaction of being like, yeah, I did the thing. That's awesome. Let's just keep on going. It was motivating me. So yeah, just getting wrapped in my definition of success then is completely different now.
And so when did you start your title company? Was that?
Yeah, almost 4 years ago, which is super, super crazy for me. I worked with a title company prior to that for a really long time, like 18 years or something. So I started when I was 10.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a long time. But they sold to corporate America. It wasn't anything that I really wanted to be a part of, because I worked with corporate America. And again, this is only my experience, right? I speak for myself only. But the experience that I had was I'm just going to be a number. I'm not going to have the freedom that I want. My ideas aren't really going to matter. It was suffocating for me to go into a corporate world again, right? It was also suffocating because they were my blanket. I've known and I've worked with them for so long, and they were so good to me and still so good to me, right? But I knew that they weren't going to have any control anymore, right? It's with corporate, it's different.
And so was this all happening? You call him your ex. So was this all happening before or after your divorce?
I in between, like we were going through a divorce and going through a divorce for like 5 years, like all over the place. So we were going through it, yes, at that time. But
I was just correlating, like, where you're seeking something higher while still, you're distracting yourself with this success and going higher and higher, getting more of what you want. You've reached the top of corporate America, I would imagine. And you're like, I can't go anymore. Now I want my ideas. And so that's why I asked the question was what was going on over here that pushed you even to a higher success?
Yeah, definitely.
Seems like a correlation in your life. So
yeah, for sure. I mean, I also I think success and pushing yourself to do things that you never could imagine is super important. And I wanted to know that, like, hey, I could go and do this thing and make something really great about it and attract what I want to do. It's my ideas, my thing. So I did. I opened up the title company, and it happened super fast, and no regrets, none. I've learned so much. It's different being an owner, versus just like an employee that works for somebody. The responsibilities change drastically. You're no longer in charge of like yourself. You have to manage all these other people, and with that comes different personalities and mistakes, and you learn as you go. But I also knew that I'm like, I don't know how to do this damn thing. I don't even know what I'm doing. But I'm just going to jump in the fire and I'm going to figure it out. Like,
and what was your favorite challenge of that? Was it the people? Was it the figuring it out?
I think definitely the people. You know, there was somebody that came to me that was actually a high producer. And for me, it was a no-brainer. Like, this individual was bringing in a crap load of business. It's going to only be super great. And I'm going to be thriving. I'm going to be super successful. You know, maybe I can get a new car. Yeah, it's just like she was going to bring something great to the company. Was my mindset. It was money driven decision. Ended up being not
Quite the opposite.
quite the opposite. Because when you have somebody that doesn't align with your values or a personality that just doesn't fit, it's not worth it. You have to find your people. And it became this toxicity within the business where everybody that was working there was like, well, we don't even want to be here anymore because of this. Like, that individual had that much power, right? That she was sabotaging. It was your way or the highway kind of attitude. I've been in the business for so long. This is how I do things. This is what I've been doing. So and so let me get away with this so I can do that here. That kind of mentality. So mistake, but really was it? No, it was a learning curve for me. So then I had to say what's important for me and what aligns with my values and I'm going to hire based off of that. We have to make sure that we align. That was a financial mistake. That was about a $70,000 hit in my first year in business. Mistake. I learned fast. I learned quick.
Let's not do that again.
But you have to go through that stuff to know that that's, let's not do that again, right?
Especially in this business of like, there's so many times and it's usually the beginning of the year. I was just talking with an agent about this. I'm like, how many, you just start at the beginning of the year like, this could be the year that nobody uses me. This is it. Do I keep doing this? And I think that's where you have to have the mindset of like,
totally,
this is going to succeed. There's no other option.
Totally.
Burn the boats.
Totally. And I think there's a lot of talk in the world where people were like, what? You are literally starting a company like in the worst market ever. Like, you are not going to succeed. It was all this negative that I was getting. Don't do it. You shouldn't do it. Da, 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 da. But in my mindset, like in my gut, you have to follow your intuition. I knew that this was all bullcrap over here. And maybe they were saying that for many reasons. Maybe they were scared that I didn't have time for them anymore because I was, going to be too busy. Maybe they wanted to do something like that and they couldn't or didn't have the ambition to do it or whatever. They're responsible for their own feelings, but they were giving me all
projecting.
This. Yeah, like, don't do it, don't do it. And I thought, hey, if Elon Musk can do it in a down market and be super successful, so can I. I looked at it different. I was like, well, if I'm going to survive here, the market will change eventually. I'm still waiting. Then I'm going to be super successful over here because I know how to run the company at the bare minimum. I don't have overhead. I don't have a loan. I don't have, you know what I mean? Like, right. I'm just going to run super thin and stick it out and make crap money, but just know that it's going to turn around eventually. That was my mindset. And that's what kept on going. I know who I am. Like, I know how determined and focused I am. Like, I can do anything that I literally put my mind to.
Right.
So I did the damn thing.
And it's still going.
It's still going.
The best advice I got was coming into this because I got into the business about 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
And they're like, look at the bright side of coming in the down market is you're going to learn to work and what that looks like to really try to do it. If you come into the business during COVID years and you just start making money, you're going to have to hit this reality at some point. It's not always an up. And you definitely a roller coaster of emotions to try to get through something. So,
yeah, for sure.
Now you're still running this title company, and more stuff comes up. So your dad just passed away and you were diagnosed with cancer.
Yep, I sure was. I wouldn't say it was by accident. I was diagnosed first before my papa passed, but I had a procedure that I was supposed to get done, and the requirement was to go and do the things, the blood test and the mammogram and things like that. And I thought, all right, well, I got to go and do the things. 43. I know, I didn't want to say it because I look 29.
Oh, I definitely didn't want to say it. So that's why we went with 25.
But 43, never had a mammogram. And not that I wasn't ever going to get one.
It's not going to happen to you and you're too young for it.
Well, that, and I've had to, there's a little secret that I have because this isn't my first time with cancer. This is my second.
Because you were just too strong to share last time.
Exactly. But with that, I just had a lot of issues with my cervix and stuff and have had for many, many years. And, when you go in for your annual checkup or your 6 months checkup, like the doctor's checking you, and feeling around for lumps and things like that. And so in my mind, I'm like, well, they don't see anything or feel anything. Like, it's fine. I'm just going to push off that mammogram. We're not going to do it. So that was like my mentality. That's what I had. And I go in for, the screening, and they come up and they're like, okay, yeah, you need to come back. And then I was like, okay, yeah, you need to come back. And so they just kept on finding some abnormalities. And I'd have to keep on showing up for more extra screening and things like that. So 2 days before my birthday, I got the final result that I had breast cancer. I was diagnosed with breast cancer. Suffocating, to say the least. Like you would, anything that you think that you could actually think, I thought, like, I'm going to die. Like, what are going to happen to my kids? Like, all of these things just flood full of like emotion. Like, what? Cancer doesn't even run in my family. Heart disease runs in my family. Everybody dies from heart disease. Like, nobody has cancer. Breast cancer isn't a thing, Angie Simmons just got diagnosed with what the hell? Like all these things. And then I get mad. I'm like screaming and I'm mad at the world. Like, how the hell does this happen? Da, da, da. And then I get sad and I get depressed and then I yell at people. It's like all of these emotions are just coming in and flooding full of stuff. And that was fine for a couple of days. I had to get it out. But then I thought, all right, like, this thing isn't going to kill me. Like, I literally have been through enough. Like, I'm going to show it who's boss. And so I did a ton of research, talked to a lot of doctors, educated myself on what this was. The good thing is that it is small. It was small. And that was in my benefit. I was at a stage 1. We knew that it was growing at a moderate pace, so I had to take action fast, but I didn't know exactly what action I was going to take. I had my options. I didn't agree with most of the things that the doctor says, but I knew that I had to act fast. So at that time, I did a lot of research on fasting and just kind of resetting my body. We know that cancer is an immune deficiency problem. We know that it feeds off of certain oxygen, cancers, things, or sugars and things like that. So what do I have to lose? Like, I've got a couple months probably till surgery. And this time I didn't really even know. I think one of the hardest things is having patience and not having answers. It's like I wake up every day and I have this cancer that's in there and I'm like, where is it? Right? So that played a really hard time mentally on me because we didn't have answers and it was a waiting game for everything. And I'm like, what am I going to do? I'm going to freaking starve this damn thing. So I did a 7-day fast. Totally reset my body. If you haven't looked into 7-day fasting, it's not anything like I would say recommend doing like once a month or anything like that. But for a hard reset, this is what I felt like I needed to do. Something that was so strong in my stomach. And again, this wasn't anything that was going to hurt me. It was something that could possibly benefit me, but I was worried, was like, I have nothing to lose. So did the 7-day fast, stopped with all the sugars. I only bought meats from the farm, so no preservatives. I was eating right directly from the farms. They were cutting the freaking cow up and I was eating the meat. No, but I was picking it up from farmers and stuff like that. High protein was my diet. And I dedicated the rest, like a couple months to that. Supplements, flaxseed, turkey tail, avocado seed, methane blue, ivermectin, fenbendazole, all the things that I had been researching that could possibly starve this thing and not make it grow. And the amount of stress that I was under was so significant that for sure I thought this thing was going to grow. And so
how was your 7-day fast?
7-day fast.
What did you feel like during and then after? I've done a 3-day.
You've done 3.
I've done 72, and
yeah. I mean, it felt really good. I think by day 6, I was starting to get super sick. Headspace wasn't really great. I think everybody has a different opinion on that, on how their body reacts to it, because people are like, I've never been so clear and blah, blah, blah. And I did really, really good up until about day 6. I was dizzy and not feeling very great, but I still pushed through it and did it. After the fast, I didn't really want to eat anything. I started with bone broth. Mm-hmm. Nasty ass. Don't do bone broth.
I did a bone broth ramen with cayenne pepper and all this stuff, and so it was okay with the noodles because I was just drinking it, and I'm like, this literally tastes like bone. Well, mine wasn't 7 days. Mine was only 3. So
okay, maybe the taste buds were just, I don't know, but it was awful.
I had a lot of seasoning. It's okay.
I should have seasoned it. I was drinking it, and I'm like, all right, Mom, cook me some chicken, will you? And so I just went right for the chicken. I probably shouldn't have, but I digested it okay. It was fine. But mentally, that was a toll for a minute, just pushing back. But again, I have something in there that's going to kill me. So what I got to lose, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of research on that. So
there's different. So doctor comes in. He says it's small. He didn't suggest a mastectomy. He actually suggested a lumpectomy, where they just go in and take out the cancer or remove it, and test the lymph nodes and make sure it hasn't spread and all the things, and radiation. Now, again, this is my experience. This is for me. I'm not a doctor. I know that modern medicine has worked for a lot of people. I'm not disregarding any of that. But I have felt so strongly that because this is so small, that I didn't need to go any of those routes, and I didn't want to. Radiation is just as bad as chemotherapy, if not worse. I didn't want to do it. I also didn't want to remove a piece of it and then just wake up every single day and be like, oh, it's in there somewhere. Where is it? Here's the crazy thing is that I knew exactly where it was, and I couldn't feel it. I was fine. I felt fine. I would have no idea that I had this thing. Anywho, so I said, I just want you to take them. The number one reason for that was because I wanted to avoid radiation. I didn't want to do it. And that was going to be what the doctor recommends if I do the lumpectomy. So we ended up taking both. I just had a double mastectomy 4 weeks ago. So I'm fresh out of surgery, Logan, but crazy. And we didn't know at that time if I would have to do chemotherapy or anything. They take the lymph node out and they test it, and then they take other tests in my blood to see what the possibility of this cancer coming back is. So we did the double mastectomy and got the results back. I do not have to do chemotherapy, which is amazing. I don't have to do any of that. There's possibility of it coming back, but not in my breast and other places. But if you look at it, cancer, that's just what it is. Once you have it, it's a possibility that's going to come back,
Right.
And then they want to put me on like a hormone blocker treatment for 5 years. And that's kind of where I'm stuck. I don't want to do it. I haven't quite finally made my decision on that. I feel like my tumor actually was 25% smaller, by the way, when they took it out. So what I was doing to my body helped. It didn't cure it. It didn't stop it. But it helped.
I mean, our bodies are just a powerful thing, and there's a lot of different natural ways to do it. And I think fasting is one of them that's really coming.
Yeah.
And then even like the ice baths, we've just lived in such a world of comfort
Yeah.
that our body never really has to be hungry. It never has to be cold, never has to be hot. And so when we put ourselves in these sauna ice baths, we make ourselves be hungry. Our body's really activated into what we were meant to be. And so that's when you start feeling so amazing that you decided to go that route. And is the deciding point like, do I want this hormone blocker, or could I continue to just do the right thing in my diet, in my daily activity? And
that is what I'm going with. I just feel like the mind is so powerful, and I know that my body can fight off a lot. And there was drastic change in my health when I was doing those things, and not with the cancer. I'm talking about months before, insomnia for like 3 months. I couldn't sleep, headaches every single day. My skin was awful. I don't know if that was a result of the cancer because it was prior to. I don't know. But when I started doing all that stuff, all of it went away. It's like a freaking miracle. It's like, I think that when we get a headache, we're like, and it's multiple times, it's like, that sucks. I'm going to go get a Coca-Cola.
that's what we need.
That's what we need.
An energy drink, coffee.
An energy drink. Maybe I need some sugar to stop with the headache. But it's repetitive stuff that we do, habits that we do when our body's actually telling us something. You don't have a headache because you need some freaking sugar. You have a headache because you need to exnay the sugar, right?
Mm-hmm.
So your body's literally telling you things. And what I did helped with all of that. Like fast, headaches went away. I was actually dreaming where I was sleeping super good. So my body was reacting to that. Like, it's super powerful what our bodies can do. And I believe that. And so I had my mind set on that. And then I have some people kind of getting in my head a little bit, which they're not wrong. I think we're all scared, right? We don't want to see Angie die of cancer. So whatever we have to do to avoid that, let's do that, which is take medicine.
Yeah, and you posted maybe about this podcast, unless you have multiple podcasts lined up. I don't know.
No, just you.
But it has taken me 43 years to figure out that choosing peace will change your life. Walking away, saying no, choosing yourself. Stay tuned as I will discuss all of this in my upcoming podcast. And then the post is choosing forward. So that's the point we're at. You're obviously choosing to go forward. And what does that look like for you?
I want to say that I don't think that the pain on anything that I've gone through is the hardest. What has been super hard is that I've sacrificed my own happiness and my own sanity to please everybody else. And I've done that my whole life in everything that I do. And that's kind of like the breaking point. When I got diagnosed with cancer, it was like none of this stuff that I've been chasing for so long even matters. It doesn't. And surrendering myself and just giving it and be like, here, just take that all from me was so freeing, where there was a mind shift on how I think, on how I talk to my children, on what I do with my children. we only have one life to live, and you don't take any of the bullshit with you to heaven. What you take is those memories and the quality of life that you actually had in making a difference, and slowing the hell down and breathing it out. Circling your life with people who actually matter, who actually have your back. Quality over quantity. I have a lot of friends, but the good ones are really hard to find. And it's important to have those people in your life. Stop chasing the bull crap all the time and just slow down and just take a deep breath and just know, like, I literally have been through it all and I'm still here. And I'm probably in a better place now than I literally ever have been. And I think that it's all because of the trials that we've been through, right? Like, you're still here. Everybody's still here. And we've all been through things. But we've learned lessons through all of those tragedies. And you have to look at the good in the shit, because that is where the progression starts. That's when we're making things of ourselves. Life is chaotic. Life gives us all of these things that are super hard to deal with. But life would also be super boring if we didn't. And where's our growth in that? Like, I just feel like God gives us things and for reasons, and they're lessons through it all. And so I'm just walking in life, moving forward, just being like, I'm so at peace right now. And this feels good. This feels so good. All of this noise over here, all of this crap is heavy. And I just don't want to do it anymore. It's just exhausting. I don't want to rush to this meeting because I got to get here and I got to meet this person, got to do this, I got to do da, 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 da. The answer is no. I can't do that right now. Maybe we can do it later. But it's taking care of me. This is me and my life. And I get to choose. And I'm not going to have anybody else dictate for me anymore. I still am a woman who believes so much in giving back in community and service. That's what I'm super passionate about. I believe that. I just also believe in boundaries and not exhausting myself where I have nothing to give for the people that actually matter the most, which are my kids, my family, my significant other. Those are the people that I have to come home and answer to every day. Those are the ones that I'm building memories with. And so it just feels so good to be in that space. I feel like not being so stressed out all the time.
You mentioned being a woman of faith and God in that. And how has your faith in God or helped you get through any point of this in your life, especially this last more recent memories?
I pray a lot. I don't want to scare you. Okay? But I see dead people.
I saw a movie on that once.
I do. It's mostly messages that I receive. And this all really stemmed from when I was really little. I'm just going to share a really brief, quick story. But while my mom is getting abused and I can hear her screaming, I'm laying in bed, so terrified, covering up myself. And this figure would show up in my doorway. And it was a beam of light. I couldn't identify who it was, nor to this day do I know who it was. But it was a figure that was standing in my door. I could tell it was a body, had hair, long hair, beaming light, standing in that doorway. And all of a sudden, I just have this sense of relief, like everything was going to be okay. And that same thing, human, angel, whatever, would show up constantly in the times that I needed it most. And so I feel like I've always been blessed with having that. I also feel like you have to be super open to receiving messages. And fast forward through my life, that there has been many incidences like that where you can't deny that there's something on the other side. And so prayer is huge for me. I get a lot of relief and comfort through prayer, talking out loud to what I believe the people that can hear me in the other life, and the messages that I constantly receive. I remember having a conversation with my grandma after she passed, and I asked her, I was like, why am I even here? Like, what is this? What are we doing here? What do I need to do? And the message from her to me was, you need to serve. And if you think about it, it's like literally if we all just did a little bit more of that, like how do you feel when you go and you do something good for somebody? Does it make you feel good?
Yeah, of course.
Like you're like, hi, can I just do this every day? I just changed somebody's life. If we all had that mentality in life to just do good and do good for people and others, like we wouldn't be at war with everybody.
I had this theory at one point in my life that we worry about the judgments of, what will Judgment Day look like for us? Mm-hmm. And I truly believe it's going to come down to how we treated others. If you look at Christ's life, that's what they talk about. Mm-hmm. It's the times he was serving others. There was never like these, off moments. The unimportant parts of his life aren't documented. It was when he ended up serving. And so if we're supposed to follow Christ's example, that's exactly what we should be doing and treating others. And no matter what their pasts are, it was never the person that was, well, I shouldn't say never. I don't know the Bible that well, but it's most often the person that's undeserving.
Yeah.
And we often overlook those people.
Well, I think that you need to have empathy for people that act certain ways and are. I mean, it's hard to look at some things, but we all act and respond based off of our traumas and how we handle things. It doesn't make us bad people. It's just that our experiences are different in life. Your experience is different than mine. So having a little bit of empathy is super, super important, and looking a little bit deeper in that.
Yeah, I found that I have to give myself more grace when it comes to when I should say react based on past traumas. Mm-hmm. Our trauma lives in our nervous system and not our mind.
Totally.
And so oftentimes we find ourselves acting out of hand and you're like, oh, why? And then when you're clear again, you're just like, why do you act like that? And it's you have to give yourself a little grace that it's a learning moment and we choose to firstly love ourselves. And I think that takes a lot for a lot of people.
Totally.
Because we're our toughest critics at all times.
Totally. Well, and I think just acknowledging that, right? Knowing like, hey, I'm a little screwed up. This is coming from this. This is why. Then you can move forward with your response a little bit different. But I think it's important to know where it's coming from.
I've been working a lot on actual self-regulation because I've been recognizing like these nervous system responses to certain situations. And it's actually come down to like legit being a little crazy and talking to yourself. But if you take a second and you like put your hand on your chest and you tell yourself, this is my past, it's not what's happening right now. You can literally feel your body change. You can feel that shift. You're allowing yourself to relax and come out of that. And that's what I've really been working on, because a lot of my traumas has hurt other people unintentionally.
Yeah.
Because when you run away or you do something, you're reacting to your past and you're not doing the right thing. And so on the outside of that, you look very confusing to them. Like, what's going on? Why are you acting the way that you're acting? When in reality, I think 90% of the time, you don't know why you're acting the way you're acting until, like we go back to what we said before, you go find the root cause of that and the answer. And you're like, okay, now I can start from here. Mm-hmm. This is where that really comes from. How do we solve that? And it takes time.
It does take time. We're all a work in progress. I think what's helped me a lot too and things and moments of despair and frustration, gratitude is super important. I think that when something happens, like humans, just a natural, like our ability is just to think about all the crap and it's negative because that one thing that you're thinking about is probably negative. And then it's like a domino effect of like victim mentality that we do. Oh my gosh, okay, this happened and this happened. Oh, I'm so deserving of this and this and this and this. Where really we're just keep on telling ourselves stories to feed what we're hyper focused on because that's what, not that we really want that, but it's really hard to get out of that mind shift. If you're already thinking negative, you're just going to fuel that even more. When you have to stop and be like, my kids are healthy. Like, you're a dad. Like, what is most important is your children. Like, my kids are good kids. Rex is doing amazing in school. Chloe's doing amazing in school. We have an amazing relationship. We get to play together all the time. It's finding the gratitude before. And then it makes that thing that you're thinking about not as heavy, right? Because nobody can take away that happiness from you. That's great. So I think gratitude and everything is super, super important. And is what's helped me get through a lot of crap.
So ending this, what is just one piece of advice that you would give either someone going through it or in general?
I think it just depends on what they're going through, right? I kind of want to be an advocate for women who are going through breast cancer. That might be a thing for me, education. But again, I think it's literally the gratitude piece is what's so profound and what has helped me through a lot of tragedy. And also that we don't have to be super strong for everybody all the time. It's not our responsibility. Is that you have to be strong for yourself first so you can be strong for other people. And also surrender that a little bit. Give up all of that stuff, that stories that you're telling in your head, and surrender it and ask for help. And there's a lot of beauty that comes out of that, and it ends up making you even stronger when you are reaching out. You don't have to be so strong all the time. And that's what I've done my whole life, and it's been exhausting.
I think you can find yourself in vulnerability because then you allow people to show up for you for the first time.
Yeah.
And you found a lot of strength in that.
100%.
And I think that probably motivates you even more now. It does. It motivates you even more to show up for those people.
Totally.
Because of how much someone helped you.
Yep.
But it took you to let your walls down a little bit.
A little bit. Yep. I'm still strong. I'm still amazing. It's still a go-getter.
I think it's even more strong to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
That's where real strength comes from.
Yeah.
Anybody can hide behind stuff, I think.
Yep. Which I've done plenty of that.
I appreciate you telling your story and your beautiful outlook on life.
Thank you.
And I hope this resonates with people that are going through not just similar things, but anything. We find gratitude, and I think gratitude is the medicine for darkness, and that'll help bring in the light to show what's really important and what we really have and what we've been blessed with. And thank you for being here. This was a great opportunity.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening to the Logan Hillyard podcast. If today's episode moved you, inspired you, or made you feel a little deeper, do me a favor and share it with someone who needs it. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. It helps more people find these conversations. Until next time, remember, your story matters, your healing matters, and the darkest parts of life can still lead to something beautiful. Keep going.